So we realized, yes, there are bananas here. We realized that we still do not know who is developing Donkey Kong Bananza. And we realized that this actually has a pretty big ripple effect on a ton of other stuff, depending on who the developer is. So we want to talk about that.
Yes, we're about a month away from this game coming out. Can you believe it or not? We've been so focused
on
the launch
yeah.
that this game is just kind of looming on the horizon. And Nintendo did just announce there's a Donkey Kong Bonanza Direct coming this week on Wednesday. So we should get a huge dump of new information. So it is kind of the right time to look into this question of who is making this game and why does that matter so much? Because as you kind of start to look at all of the ripple effects, it's like, no, wait, this has an impact on more than just this game.
Exactly. It has a pretty big impact on stuff that is beyond the game itself. So we want to kind of dig into that here. It is kind of interesting because, we've been enjoying like the launch of Switch 2. The launch lineup has been really strong with some great third-party games. Obviously, everybody's been playing Mario Kart World, us included, but this does seem like, Donkey Kong Bonanza really does seem like a game that kind of truly showcases the power of Switch 2 and might even give us more just like sort of insight into what the system can do. So it's going to be a really important title for Nintendo.
Yeah, it is important. It's almost like a second launch game.
Exactly.
We've seen from a lot of people who say like, yeah, Mario Kart's fine, I enjoy playing it, but I am looking for, and I'm kind of missing right now that big new single player experience that I can immerse myself in, which is a little bit different than what Mario Kart offers. So I can get that.
Yeah.
So again, I have seen a lot of people kind of looking at these two games together of like, all right, there's kind of launch game A and launch game B. B stands for Bananza, AKA Bonanza.
And banana.
Yes. Bananas, bonanzas, bananas, all of the above.
The spelling of the word bonanza throws me off I cannot write this, I can never spell it correctly.
The word bonanza will never be spelled correctly ever again after this, unfortunately.
I know, sorry children.
Huh?
The education system is now
just don't use this word again. Yeah, it's just out.
Yeah, so with this game being such a big deal and, the stakes are still pretty high, Nintendo still needs to, the Switch is off to a wonderfully strong, incredible start, obviously, but Nintendo still needs to work hard and make sure that they kind of maintain the momentum for the rest of the year. So, of course, this is going to be a big game in terms of how they're going to be doing that, but they've been pretty tight-lipped about confirming to us who at Nintendo is actually making this game, which team specifically is working on this game. And, they don't like to tell us stuff that much. They don't like to showcase developers as much as they used to. And sometimes they do have ask the developers that come out very, very close to a game's launch.
Would you say within a month of release, those might come out?
Maybe, but maybe not. Maybe not. So yeah, it's just really interesting how they have been kind of cagey about this.
Yeah, it is unusual, and most people have assumed that the EPD Tokyo team is going to be making this game. But if that's the case, then you might also almost argue well, why don't you just say that? Because that's actually a huge bonus for this game. It gives this game a huge boost of credibility because this is the team that did Mario Odyssey, Super Mario 3D World, Bowser's Fury, the Mario Galaxy games. The list goes on. They don't have a miss over the last 10 to 15 years. So why not just come out and say, oh yes, they are. Donkey Kong is now so important to us that we had this flagship team take over instead of making a 3D Mario game, and they're making this instead. That would be a huge vote of confidence for this game.
Right, and I think if they're trying to set this game up to be almost like a second wave of launch excitement for Switch 2, announcing the developer would be, especially this developer, this team, would be huge.
Right.
And we did hear a little whisper from our good friend Steven Totilo, who was at the Nintendo Switch 2 hands-on preview event. He told us that he did see head of EPD Tokyo, the team that makes these 3D Mario games, Yoshiaki Koizumi was in the house, the house.
The hizzy?
The hizzy, as they say.
With a banizzi?
With a banizzi. We don't know if it was with a banizzi or not, actually.
All right.
We don't know if he's working.
That would be too obvious.
Yeah, but he was there. What was he doing there? We don't know. He might be observing the festivities, but that is a little bit suspicious.
Yeah, and Nintendo did get asked this question. We found this IGN interview where Bill Trinan got asked, and they just straight up asked him. They said, it feels like with Bananza and Mario Odyssey have a lot in common, and it's true. Like there are some kind of visual things that are in both games.
Yeah.
There's kind of those like crystal things that pop out of the ground. It's like, wait, I've seen that in both of those games.
There was a moment in the very first reveal trailer for Donkey Kong Bonanza during the Switch 2 Direct, and they did a flyover of just the worlds, like the landscape, not showing any characters yet, and I was so convinced in that moment that it was a 3D Mario game because it looked so much like Odyssey.
Right.
So there is like some visual stuff that it's little visual breadcrumbs a little bit.
Right. Anyway, Bill Trinan said in response to this question, "You'll have to stay tuned. We always like to start by showcasing the game and getting people focused on the gameplay, but we'll have some information to share about the developer in due time."
Oh, do.
And then IGN tried to poke at this from all sorts of different angles, and he just kind of shut it down.
Yeah.
Said, no more of that. So, yeah, we are in this interesting spot where they are purposefully obfuscating who the developer is. Focus on the game, get acquainted with the game, and this game was a huge part of the Direct, of those hands-on events, and for the for the past couple of weeks, we've had to focus on the launch and Mario Kart and the details of the launch. But yeah, now is a great time for them to come back and hopefully just reveal all.
Exactly. They did say that Direct is going to be about 15 minutes, so similar to the length of the Mario Kart Direct, but hopefully we'll get a lot more information about this game. And by all intents and purposes, like from every person that has played this game at those preview events, it is a hit.
Yes.
A huge hit.
Right.
So it's going to be, I think it's going to be, regardless, a wonderfully quality game all around.
Right. So maybe you're watching this and saying, well, okay, fine. If this game is just made by the EPD Tokyo team, then it sounds like it'll be a great game, and then problem solved. We'll play it. It'll be great. And then what's the big deal?
Yeah.
Well, there are these other implications that are specific to the game, specific to the Switch 2, and specific to Nintendo that we do really need to get into. Because again, there's this ripple effect of this team working on this game that we might be feeling for a while.
Yeah, exactly. So there are some things that are very specific to the game itself, Donkey Kong Bonanza. If EPD Tokyo is developing this game, it's probably going to be one of the best games, if not the best game of the year for Switch 2.
Yeah, the quality is stamped. No need to worry about that, because all the other games that they've done, they're in the 90 plus.
Right.
Like Mario Odyssey's at like 97. The Mario Galaxy games are at like 95 plus.
Yeah.
Like there will be no worries about the quality of this game. Yes.
Yeah.
And it's going to start this great new beginning, finally, of Donkey Kong, of the hand wringing of like what's going on with Donkey Kong? Like, you just built a theme park for Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong's in this movie, but like, what's happening in a game with Donkey Kong that's going to elevate that IP up to the status of a Mario of a Zelda? Like, this would be the first step of that.
Exactly, and we've been questioning that a lot because it's like, they are doing so much stuff in the entertainment side of the Nintendo business, really showcasing Donkey Kong. But we have yet to see, a new Donkey Kong game in years and years and years and years. So this will certainly address that gap. The other thing that's kind of interesting is now it's sort of a beginning of Nintendo taking back the Donkey Kong IP, taking it back in-house.
Right.
They've been using they've been changing the Donkey Kong designs. Like the old designs were from the Donkey Kong games that were not developed in-house at Nintendo.
Yes, the rare games.
The rare games. And now it's like, okay, we're going to take Donkey Kong's coming home. We've got these redesigns of him. He matches the look that we want him to look like in Mario Kart World, and now, of course, in Donkey Kong Bonanza. So it is an interesting thing where it's like Donkey Kong is now kind of propped up as a more AAA Nintendo character, in the same league as Mario and Link.
Yeah, it's
so that's great for Donkey Kong.
It's a natural Nintendo thing to do if this is made by an internal Nintendo team to say, well, we're truly going to start from scratch. The rare design served us so well, since the mid '90s. Those games were a hit that really carried that character for a long time. But if this is a new era, we're going to start fresh and have nothing is sacred, and we're going to be able to put our spin on the character that's going to last us for a long time now.
Right.
Kind of the same thing that they did in the 90s. We're going to do it ourselves.
Taking the control, again, back internally.
Yes.
So this is all great news for the game. Obviously, if this is the case, then we are all in for a true treat in terms of this game. But does it mean it's good news for Nintendo long term? That's the question that we want to answer, because again, the ripple effect is more than you might think.
Yes, so then the natural question is, okay, EPD Tokyo is making Bananza. Fine, we know that. Then the next logical question to ask is, well, what does that mean for the next 3D Mario game? Because this is the team that did that. And at Nintendo, they had the two teams between 2D and 3D Mario games were split.
Yeah.
So Mr. Tezuka in Kyoto, he was working on all the 2D games. He did Wonder. He's been with the series since day one.
Right.
And then Mr. Koizumi and that team were handling all of the 3D games.
Right.
So either they've come up with some new arrangement where somebody else is involved in one way or another, or the other implication is we might just be waiting for a good long time before we get the next 3D Mario game, because that team is incredible. Nobody's disputing the quality. They are not fast. They are not prolific. They are not pumping out games.
They're not also that big.
Right.
Unless they completely staffed up within the last, 8 years.
Yes.
That could happen. They could have totally restaffed and reshuffled the team. But the three people that are there sort of leading the charge is Mr. Koizumi, who's like the head of that studio, basically. We have Mr. Motokura, who was the director on Mario Odyssey.
Yes.
And is very, he's worked on a ton of the 3D Mario stuff. And then we have Mr. Hayashida, who worked on Mario Wonder, was on loan.
That was so interesting that they did that. Yeah,
they loaned him out.
They're like, we need a perspective of the 3D Mario team on this 2D game to kind of just help us get some.
He was like a consultant.
Some freshness back into this.
Which I loved.
Such a smart thing.
I think he's awesome.
But yeah, he did 3D Land on the 3DS. He's been very involved with Captain Toad, and he's just another kind of creative juggernaut. So between those three people, that is an interesting question to ask, is are they now able to do two games at once? Because they definitely have not been up to this point.
Maybe they trained up one of them, so is one of them taking...
Is there some sort of outside studio that is helping in a big way? We've seen Nintendo do that, but again, this is that would be a big thing to kind of put on loan and ask for help versus the next 3D Mario game? We're gonna be doing that ourselves. That's so important and so critical.
That's the thing too, is you would not want to mess with the formula and the, the way the magic of the 3D Mario games come together.
Right.
You wouldn't want to sacrifice that for anything. Donkey Kong's pretty important, but it's surely not as important as the next 3D Mario game.
Right, but again...
So it just begs the question.
They released
who's working on it?
Mario Odyssey in 2017.
Yeah.
It's now 2025.
It is. It's been a very long time.
And in between, that team has done Bowser's Fury.
Right.
There was the Switch version of Captain Toad that came out very early in the Switch life cycle.
Yeah.
That's kind of it. So
right.
that was
what are they cooking on?
That was 8 years ago.
Yeah.
So, it could have been a retro studio situation where it's we had some games that got canceled or something like that.
Yeah.
But in terms of, being regularly releasing games, it's not like they've been doing that. So
they're working on something.
So the prospect of them having Donkey Kong plus a 3D Mario game in the next couple years is that would be a pretty big change for them.
Yeah, and I don't think Nintendo would move fast enough to be able to handle that kind of change, just knowing what we know about how the company works and operates. And I also don't think that they would want anything to jeopardize, again, the importance of a 3D Mario game.
Right.
So from my perspective, I would think that if it is confirmed that EPD Tokyo is working on Bananza, then that does mean, unfortunately, that 3D Mario is probably coming very late.
Just reset the clock on 3D Mario, and then it becomes we're still
maybe 4, 5, 6 years.
We're still gonna get it, but it's gonna be more of a late generation. At soonest, a mid-generation.
Correct.
It took them 8 years to release the next full game.
Yeah.
So if that gets confirmed in this direct, then we just need to really manage our expectations about the next 3D Mario.
Right.
Unless they completely change up the way that they're doing 3D Mario games.
Yeah,
and again,
that could happen.
Again, I wouldn't be super confident in saying that, but you never know.
Yeah.
So then let's continue to go down the rabbit hole of, okay, so Bananza's done by the Tokyo team, 3D Mario's on a different timeline. What does this mean for the Switch 2 now?
Right,
as a platform, because we all remember in 2017, they had the great, amazing 1-2 punch of Breath of the Wild at the beginning of 2017.
Yeah.
And then Mario Odyssey at the end. And Mario Odyssey has gone on to sell 30 million units, which is amazing.
Juggernaut.
And was such a driver into that holiday and closing out the first year so strong. It's like, okay, very clearly now the Switch 2 is going down a different path in terms of its first year approach.
Yeah, exactly. Like, Nintendo's always really focused on having, you know, some kind of very broad game that can reach all kinds of audiences, especially in the holiday window. Now, you could say that Mario Kart does that. Mario Kart obviously is the launch title. It's not the holiday season right now. And at launch, Switch 2 is doing really well, and they have a ton of momentum. So you could argue that maybe they already checked that box with Mario Kart World, but it does leave, and we talked about this a little bit before, it does leave some small gaps in that holiday calendar. Like, you don't feel like you kind of have that like huge holiday release.
Right.
To kind of give Switch 2 that push. And it's an odd thing to think about too, because it's like, if Donkey Kong Bonanza is the big Tokyo's, you know, EPD Tokyo game that's at the quality level of a 3D Mario game, why not just launch that game in the holiday instead of a
July.
month? Instead of 1 month after the launch and 1 month after Mario Kart. You don't need to squeeze those two so close together.
It is an interesting question because right now, and who knows, in a couple weeks or months, we'll know the full lineup clearly. They are in need of that big closer, kind of cleanup hitter game for the end of the year. They don't really have that right now.
They don't.
They have Pokemon, which will be great, but gosh, comparing that to Mario Odyssey in 2017, I wouldn't say that it's going to necessarily live up to those levels. So yeah, the prospect of launching this game that is, presumably so big and so incredible in mid-July is unusual, and it does make you kind of scratch your head of like, well, why are they doing that?
Yeah.
And there were rumors back before the Switch 2 was even announced of like, well, Nintendo's had to reshuffle a lot of things. There was some software that maybe wasn't ready. Who knows? Maybe the plan was to have Mario Kart and Bananza launch day and date with the Switch 2, and the Tokyo team's like, we're not.
We need another month.
We need another month.
A month seems so insignificant.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It is something that is not completely adding up to us though right now.
Yeah.
And we need to see this direct to fully understand the reasoning.
There's something fishy though happening here, because again, Nintendo wouldn't want to risk anything jeopardizing for them having the strongest sort of launch plus first holiday season for Switch 2. So are they not banking on Donkey Kong Bonanza because it's not a Mario game, because they know that it won't reach the levels of a Mario game?
It's not $80.
It's not $80. There you go.
They've kind of outlined their thinking for why games should be $80 versus $70. It seems like those that are more kind of multiplayer focused, that you're going to be playing over an extended period of time, that seems to be what's in the $80 category. But again, just put the two next to each other. It's like, oh, is this one not as big or as good?
Right.
Like there's some psychological thought process of like, oh, I guess that's not up to the caliber of Mario Kart World because it's cost $10 less. And I think it's just a fact that, no matter, like this game could get 100 on Metacritic. I don't think Bonanza is going to go on to sell 30 million copies just due to the fact that it's not a Mario game. I think that like the ceiling of sales on this game is just a little bit lower because again, it's been so long since we had a Donkey Kong game.
Very true.
A 3D Donkey Kong game, no less. It's just huge shoes to fill.
Yeah, and it's like they are sort of restarting the work on the Donkey Kong like franchise or whatever with this game. So you're at the start line. So you need time to build up that like momentum for it to become like a sales juggernaut like Mario Odyssey
Exactly.
is.
And then again, like
so
if this is the Tokyo team again, if that's the assumption, when are we getting a proper Mario game, whether it's 3D or 2D?
I know.
I mean, I guess you would get the 2D one a little bit quicker, but it does.
But the 2D team just finished Wonder.
It does start to put pressure on those teams of like, all right, we need to get this thing out because now we're in year 2, year 3 of Nintendo Switch. We have Mario games, we have Mario Kart. There'll probably be other Mario games that are released,
but not like a proper.
Yes.
Titled Mario game.
Exactly. That's going to be an anchor for this platform that people are going to be buying for the duration of the generation, like we saw on the original Switch. It is an uncomfortable position for them to be
it's
in.
Like the timing
from
off.
Day one. Like Switch Shares came out 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And we're already talking about this stuff.
Yeah, because we know that the only reason Switch 1 is a huge success is that these huge games like carry the system for long periods of time.
Right.
They got Breath of the Wild, Mario Odyssey, Animal Crossing, like those like huge franchises were carrying that system for like, not just for the 2 weeks of excitement that you get when a game first came out, but like for years and years afterwards.
Right, and again, I don't want to get too far off topic, but again, Zelda's also another franchise where it's like, we're not getting that anytime soon.
So you're not losing out of both Nintendo.
The two big things that carried the year 1 of the Switch 1, it's like, we're going to be many, many years into the Switch 2 before we start to see those, or even hear about those.
So again,
honestly, so
it just feels risky.
It's very different. It's a different path, and it does feel riskier than those games that were just like, oh yeah, this is a sure thing.
Yeah.
So again, we have to go back to this question of like, why be so cagey? Why make people like us make videos about this, wringing our hands?
Yeah.
When if you have this great team doing it, just tell us. Just tell us.
They must also be thinking through the implications of what telling us means, because they know that if they tell us, then we will logically come to the conclusion that means a 3D Mario game is far away. I think that the Tokyo team is working on Donkey Kong Bananza.
Okay.
And I do think that this means our precious, beloved 3D Mario game is now many, 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 many years away. And I think that they are scared that sort of underlining thing will kind of put a little damper on this game. And they need this game to perform for them. They're still in this very like critical launch period where they just want more and more people to get excited about Switch 2, more people to buy it, more people to like talk about it, so they're still very much in that like part of their business strategy, their marketing strategy, and they don't want anybody to be distracted by the fact that revealing these developers means this other thing.
Well, that would be a bummer that this great new game that's presumably made by one of their best teams becomes like a yes but game. It's like, yes, it's great, but it's not the Mario game.
That's terrible. So I wouldn't want that to happen.
That's too bad. So let's rate the likelihood of these 3 different scenarios.
Okay.
Scenario 1 is it's just the Tokyo team making it themselves. Scenario 2 is it's the Tokyo team in partnership with some other team.
Okay.
And this might give them more bandwidth to do that second project.
Okay.
You have a Mr. Motokura or a Mr. Hayashida supervising.
Yes. Very capable.
Yes.
And then you got Koizumi-san on the other side making the 3D Mario game.
Right. And then scenario C is they're actually not involved at all.
Yeah, they are making the 3D Mario
They hoodwinked us.
Yeah.
And it's somebody
3D Mario is coming this holiday.
Yeah, it's something else.
And it's gonna be awesome.
Who's doing this? Yes, it's the 1-2
Galaxy
Switch team
3
leveled up.
Galaxy 3 is in 4K, 60 frames per second.
And it's coming out in November.
Shadow drop.
So rate the likelihood of those 3 things.
I'm thinking scenario 1 is most likely, but I would like scenario 2 to be the actual scenario.
I'm not ruling out scenario 2 in any way, which is the partnership situation.
I like that scenario a lot because it just gives this amazing team just the ability to make more games. So that's good.
That does justify them being so cagey about it because it's like, it does require a proper explanation. And going back to Bill Trinin's explanation of why they're not doing it, it's like in due time, first focus on this game, get excited for this game, and then we'll explain why. If it's just Tokyo, you don't have to do that. It's like, oh, it's perfect. It's going to be great. Versus like, well, one of the guys from Tokyo is involved and they're working with this team and maybe you don't know them so much, but it's going to be good. Take my word for it. Like, I'm not shaking option 2 in any way.
I think it's a potential for sure.
Option 3, I think, is less likely based on what we've seen. There's just so many visual similarities.
Something about this game.
They would really have to be studying hard to match all of those.
Yeah,
visual
I don't think
cues.
that's possible.
Yeah.
That's a vibe. You can't learn a vibe. You just have it or you don't have it. You know.
Right.
So yeah, I feel like that's probably not possible that they're not involved at all.
The other scenario that I have to throw out, which is a long shot, but it was one of my predictions at the start of the year before we knew anything about this game, which is what if Mario's in this game and it becomes...
What if this is the 3D Mario
This is a 2-in-1 deal. I think it's unlikely now that we've seen like the box art and Mario's... Like if Mario was in this, like Mario would be front and center. They would be together on the box art.
It's like 2 levels of leaks. Instead of the rock being Pauline, it's actually Pauline as Mario.
Right.
Two levels.
You thought you got the good leak. No, you got the mid-level leak that we wanted you to take.
Yeah, this is like a bait and switch.
You took the bait.
Took the bait and switch.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So I think that's unlikely, but I still have to say it because it's a fun scenario to talk
egg?
about.
Maybe a little Easter egg?
Yeah, maybe a little post-credit scene.
Yeah.
It's a me.
Or he's like a little, like he's like...
He pops out of the banana, boop.
Are you something like that?
I was in there all along.
He's like one of the miners or something?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. So that could be a possibility.
Yes. So who knew the next 8 years of the Switch 2 and Nintendo's future was writing?
On
the Donkey Kong Direct.
On a banana. Riding on a banana.
Interesting.
This is Donkey
turn of phrase there, but yes. Yes. Okay.
Yes. So we will be getting this Nintendo Direct, though.
Yeah.
Roughly 15 minutes,
Sure
they
will.
said. Will one of these wonderful developers, Koizumi-san, Hayashida-san, Murokuro-san, will they be hosting the Nintendo?
That would be a nice way.
Will Mr. Koizumi come out shaking his booty? Like, yeah! Bananza!
He likes to do that, yeah.
It's a cute booty.
That would be a great way.
Booty.
That would be a great way to get people excited for this Direct starting. Here he is, the man himself.
The man himself.
Yes.
He's I mean, maybe that's what we've been waiting. Maybe that's what Bill Trinin's been alluding to.
That's what we all needed.
All along is just once again wait for the Direct, and that's where things will be explained to you.
Oh wait, it didn't quite happen that way last time.
Oh
wait. Anyways,
it was. Hopefully, this is not a nothing banana. You know how they call it a nothing burger?
No.
Call it a nothing.
I'm getting hungry staring at these bananas.
You're gonna eat the
So
banana.
let's wrap up the video so I can eat one.
Okay, well, what do you guys think? Who do you think is developing Donkey Kong Bonanza? How do you feel if it is the EPD Tokyo team, and if so, we won't get a 3D Mario game in a very long time? Tell us your thoughts and feelings, and if you have predictions for this Donkey Kong Nintendo Direct, let us know in the comments. We're gonna eat bananas. We'll see you later. Bye!